Hi, and welcome to Something to Talk About. I'm Linda McNamee, and for the next hour, we're going to see the senior status. So it's very elite. But before we begin, as always, I want to invite you to email me at talk@bcattv.org if you have a suggestion for a future topic, or if you just need to ask a question or find out anything about BCAT, although that's something different. But if you want to email me, feel free to. I would like to thank the crew for this evening. We have Lucian Gates and Christina Nikitas, who are volunteers here, who have given up their Wednesday evening to come hang out at BCAT. And we also have Chris Flaherty, who's one of the staff members here, making sure that us volunteers keep everything running smoothly, especially, I don't know if you'll notice, but we are in the process of rebuilding and redesigning and upgrading our studio. So, more to come, so you might want to check it out at some point. Last but definitely not least, I would like to thank my husband Paul for staying home for Daddy Date Night. Hope our English literature homework has gone smoothly, and hopefully you enjoy your evening. So anyway, housekeeping rules aside, now I would like to welcome my wonderful guest, who is a very familiar face on BCAT as well as around Burlington, Marge Yetman, who's the director of the Council on Aging.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. I always love talking to you. And then I'm like looking at the questions going, oh my gosh, I'm going to become seeing you in,
No, you're not.
soon.
No,
So.
you've got time.
Okay.
Plenty of time.
So, thank you for joining me.
I'm glad to be here.
And thank you for giving up your Wednesday evening to
Anytime.
hang out at BCAT.
And thank you to my husband for
Yes.
doing without me this evening.
Yes.
So,
Got to make sure we thank him too.
Yeah.
So, as always, even though many people know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, how you came to the Burlington area, and then what led you to working at the Council on Aging?
okay, absolutely. So, we lived in various places. We actually lived in Africa when I was small, when I was a tot.
Cool.
Yeah, very
Yeah, that's
cool.
quite the commute.
Yeah. When I was 9, we moved to Lexington, right next door, and that's where I grew up. My mom told my dad we're done moving around.
Were they one of them in the military or just
My dad was an economist.
Oh,
And
okay.
worked for first the Ford Foundation and then Harvard. And so my mom said when she realized we were not getting a good education, bopping around the world, and
not a lot of continuity.
no. And we were living, we were in Tanzania, we were going to the international school, and the teachers were just way more worried about the kids that didn't speak English and left us more to our own devices. So Mom's like, this is not working. I want the kids to go through school in the States, and we're going, and that's it. We're not moving again. So the ironic thing was the minute my brother graduated, they were off and running again. So it's just...
Well, now they didn't have to worry about education anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, we were in college and they're running off. But so I grew up in Lexington.
Well, I'm glad you stuck around the area.
Yep. And I, probably because of where I grew up and what I saw as a child, I always wanted to be a social worker. That was,
Okay.
At 15 years old, somebody said to me, what do you want to be? And I'm like, I want to be a social worker.
Cool.
I did a paper in history on tenements. I mean, I just was like so into it, Got a little
help people
sidelined.
out.
Yeah, exactly. I got sidelined.
As we always do.
Yeah, I went to the University of Lowell, now UMass Lowell, then University of Lowell, to do for sociology.
Okay.
And it was the first year with a sociology degree, and it did not go well for me. It was not. My mom admitted after they probably shouldn't have had me go there because it was just first year of a course of study.
Yeah.
They didn't have great classes, and I just kind of got lost. So and there was literally 6 people in the major, 6 of us.
Wow.
So
Okay.
So I got lost and kind of moved around and did other things, and ended up getting married, having my daughter, and then literally went back to school with a toddler in tow.
Wow.
Because, God forbid,
Because
you do it easily,
why not?
right? You know, I mean, why would you ever get your degree when it's easy to do? No, let's make it as hard as we can. So we basically grew up doing homework together.
Oh, cool. Now, did you go back to ULowell/University of Mass?
Nope, I ended up going to Leslie.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Got a degree in human services. I was going to go and get my social work degree, and my mom was like, you know, wait a couple years. Don't go right into graduate school, wait. So I percolated a little on it.
Okay.
And I had done my internship at Leslie at the Somerville Cambridge Elder Services, at the North Cambridge Senior Center, and the Cambridge Council on Aging. So I was very focused. And part of that was driven by the fact that I had, you know, lived through the 80s, gotten laid off a couple of times, you know, and I was like, I want a job that's going to be more secure.
Little job security, yeah.
So I mean, I really loved it. I absolutely loved working at the Senior Center and the Council on Aging. I'm like, that's what I want to do.
Cool.
So right out of school, you're not going to a council on aging. You know, councils on aging are small, and it's not a good training ground, right?
Okay.
I mean, people need to come in somewhat seasoned before they can work in a council on aging. The caveat, unless I've already trained them as an intern, and we'll get to that.
But wait, there's more. Okay.
There's more. So I ended up working at Minuteman Senior Services,
Okay.
and then
Are they in Lexington?
they were in Burlington.
Oh, okay.
And then I went to Merrimack Valley Elder Services, which is now Age Span. And then my Girl Scout co-leader found this little teeny little article in the Minuteman.
When they still had print.
When they still had print and the Minute. Well, Billerica still has its Minuteman, but.
Okay.
And she's like, isn't this what you want to do? I was like, oh, but I'm not ready. I don't have my master's yet. And I'm like, oh, but it would be really good to go and
practice the whole
interviewing,
interview,
right?
and find out what they want, what they need.
surprise, surprise.
And there you go.
Literally 5 years out of school.
Wow.
Yeah, I was 36 years old. And I was one of the youngest directors in the first couple of years that I was there in the state.
Wow. And was that still at Minuteman, or was that here?
Here. It's one of the youngest.
Wow.
Yep.
So you've been here for
22 years.
a while. Wow.
Yep.
Well,
Just
thank
had
you for
my 22nd.
staying.
My pleasure.
So cool. How have things changed over those past few years? Because, 20 years ago was just the 1980s, so. I'm going to believe that until the day I die.
Okay.
So, yeah, I know that wasn't one of my questions, so we can
No, it's fine.
skip
You
it
don't even
over.
have to ask what's on the. But no, you're good. Throw whatever you want at me.
Okay.
So I started working literally a month before 9/11.
Oh, wow.
So I started working, everything's all innocent, and the world changed
Exactly.
a month after I started working here.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's been, there's little adjustments as you go, right?
Right.
Like security and making sure people are okay.
Well, it's kind of a big adjustment, but yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
but no, but I mean, when it first happened, back when I first started working, like the volunteers were at the front desk and they would open the mail, and they'd take it out of the envelopes and put it on your slot.
Yep.
And within 3 months, I had to take that away from them because we had anthrax.
Yep. Oh my gosh, I forgot
my
about that.
Yeah, so and they were all upset. And I'm like, I'm better able to survive it than you are.
Yeah.
So they were just like, and things just had to start changing.
Yeah.
And I'd only been there for a little while, right? So they didn't want, so
And you're the young,
youngin.
yeah.
So my changing
young
things
whippersnapper.
was not cool, and it really. I think 2-3 months into it was probably too soon for me to make changes, but they were changes I had to make for safety.
Exactly.
You know? And we still occasionally make changes for safety. You know, it's always learning and making sure everybody's okay.
Right.
But some of it's more basic. I mean, just, you know, like if there's a fire or if the fire alarm goes off, how do you get people out of the building when they're not able to get out of the building?
That's true.
You know, things like that. But yeah,
Well, now you have really cool, like, color-coded stripes in the.
do.
I know.
That's so you know where the senior center is, and you know, for someone with dementia, if they know they look for the green. That's where the senior center rooms
Got
are. So we have more seniors now. I think the job has become more professional.
Okay.
There's still very young people coming in to do the job, but it's less of a coordinator, less of a secretarial position
Okay.
now than it was before. Although don't get me wrong, you still get some people that are not qualified, but
Yeah.
but those are out in the western part of this.
Well, that's also in, like,
so-
every field,
Yeah.
everywhere, so.
You know, I think there's a lot of towns where the folks that run the town don't understand what the job should entail.
Okay. That's why we have you to
why you have-
educate the community.
Well, and it's funny because I just did a 2-year stint as president of the trade association.
I didn't know there was a trade association.
Mass Councils on Aging.
Okay.
Yep. So I just did 2 years of that.
So is that like a representative from each of the 300 and something communities?
Yeah, so everybody's you have to pay dues,
Okay.
but yeah, everyone's a member.
Okay.
And there's a board and an advisory board. And yeah, 20
What do they advise on? Like legislation? Or?
legislation, you know, priorities. You know, what do we want to work on? What do we want
Okay.
to focus on? Yeah, and that's really it. You know,
Okay.
when something goes awry in a town with a council on aging, you know, how do you fix it? We've got one town that is taking verbatim the language of the COAs and that the legislature put out there, and that was like from 1960s. So,
Oh yeah, still completely relevant
yeah.
today.
and I mean, basically, it says that the council on aging, the members,
Okay.
are basically the boss of the director, which is not a good thing.
No.
You really don't want a bunch of people that are not professional,
Yeah.
you know.
What could possibly go wrong?
Oh, nothing at all. So we're working, so that's a big legislative thing right now that we're
Okay.
working on and getting the language changed and updated so that
Okay.
it reflects real world and 2023 and
Yes,
hopefully
exactly.
into the future. Something that should be looked at probably, you know, some of these the
A little more
legislation-
regularly than
Yeah.
every 60,
50, yeah,
50, 60 years or
50
so.
years, yeah, oh God, yeah.
Well, depending on when. in
Well,
the
I'm thinking when I was born and when the legislation was born, and it's about the same age.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
okay.
Moving along, because the last time I had you on the show, it was February of 2020.
Oh my God, and how, oh
Little did we know
my God.
that, again, like you said when you first started at the Council on Aging, a month later, our entire world changed again.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, this time there really wasn't any, I don't want to say there wasn't any warning, because there really wasn't a lot of warning, but there wasn't any warning, you know, back in 2001. But this time, nobody really knew what to expect. Nobody really had experienced it on any scale before.
Right.
And it's like, oh, it's just a really bad cold. 2 weeks, everything will be back to normal. Longest 2 weeks of my life. So how did you and your staff and your organization, how did you adapt?
So, oh my God, that was like the worst day ever. Thursday, March 12th.
Yes, Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th, day that will live in infamy.
Yes.
So I called Paul Stagarino,
Okay.
And I said, I think I need to shut down. I think it's time for us to shut down. And he goes, you know what? He goes, I agree. You can certainly shut down, but wait, don't make the announcement yet because Dr. Conte is also
Contemplating.
and let's figure out what he's going to do, and we'll do it all together if he
Okay.
wants to shut down.
Unified front.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So yeah, because I mean, if I do it and then he does it, and then Paul had
It'll
to go do
seem
something.
more like
yeah,
reactive.
Yeah,
and,
and
yeah.
you need to be more cohesive. So the three of us separately came into BCAT and did messages. And I actually broke down during mine. And I'm like, oh my, that's like so not professional. But it was just so
But you're
upsetting.
human. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just so difficult. It was just so difficult. And I don't know if in my core, in my gut, I knew that we weren't going to be reopening for a really long time. I think I kind of did. I think
Okay.
I hoped it would be 2 to 3 weeks, but I think I knew that it was
Okay.
the kids might get back to school in 2 weeks, but we weren't going to be coming back that quick.
Okay.
Little did I know, not even the kids were coming back that quick.
Yeah.
But I knew it was bad, and I knew it was bad. And some of the directors, some of the towns around us had the small towns like Maynard
Okay.
and Carlisle had already shut down because it's easier for them. They're
Right.
small, and it's not as big a deal for them to do that. For us, it was huge. But I was also watching the numbers dwindle, and we have quite a number of Chinese folk, and I already hadn't seen them in a couple of weeks, and I was just feeling so horrible about that. But you just like through the week, I just watched our numbers just dwindle down to almost nothing, and I'm like, it's
Yeah.
like it's time. Like, we need to pull the plug.
Okay.
So we shut down to the public. However, we do Meals on Wheels. Well, we don't do them, but they come out of our building.
Yeah.
Minuteman runs
Does that program still
Yeah.
go on? Okay. I know.
So that had to continue. So what do you do?
Yeah.
I can't have my entire staff at the same time. So the first thing we wanted to do is to limit the exposure to the seniors, right? Like, you don't want
Okay.
5 different people
Handling your
going in
food.
to see
Yeah.
them.
Okay.
So what I did is I divided us up. So my admin had to do payroll. So she would go in on Monday and Tuesday. And I assigned one of my van drivers and one of my outreach workers to Debbie, basically, to
Okay.
Monday, Tuesday. I took the other 2 days and
Okay.
another van driver and the other outreach worker.
Okay.
And so then if one of us went down and we took the other 2 with us, we still had other people that could
Got
come in.
it.
So basically,
So you had a backup plan.
we had a backup plan. We had we had the van drivers, we had the social workers, and then we had someone who could do payroll. Because
Okay.
really, in the end, the most important thing is that we get the payroll
Well,
done.
yeah.
So we divided up, but then we had the problem of Fridays. So basically, I said, all right, everybody work from home on Fridays, and we will have a volunteer come in and go. So they would only
Okay.
see 3 people, not 5 people. Wasn't
Got it.
ideal, but it was better than, you need to get the meals out, but I
Well, the
also
first
need to
6
keep my
months,
staff
nothing
going.
was ideal.
Right. So you also need to keep the staff going, right? I mean, I can't have everybody go down at once because you've got emergencies going on out there.
Yeah.
And the folks with mental illness were really having a really hard time, and my social workers were really active,
Wow.
making phone calls and doing home visits. They still had to do
Yeah.
home visits, unfortunately. So we were never isolated. We were never in a bubble. Sort
Did
of in a bubble,
everybody
but-
make it up? Your team make it through relatively unscathed?
through the worst of it, and then
Okay.
everybody went down at another time.
There was a point where, you felt like you were walking around with a bullseye painted on your face.
No,
going,
it was
"Okay."
it was Christmas. It was last Christmas. Everyone let their guard down, and half of us got sick.
Funny, that was my Christmas present too. December 23rd. Guess what, Linda?
We didn't get it in my house until February, which is funny because, I have a couple of immune diseases, and I'm on some immune drugs, and so I'm obviously at risk. And my husband was like super careful. He was like, I don't want you to get sick. so I'm, you're not going grocery shopping anymore. I'll do the grocery shopping. And then he gets it at the grocery store and brings it home. I was like, okay, that worked well. But it was, but by last February, I already had, 2 boosters and,
Right.
the shot and the 2 boosters. And I think that the disease is mild enough that it was,
Right.
I was fine.
It's not pleasant, but
No,
yeah.
it was fine.
And it also hits people like different ways. So
Well, both my daughter and my husband lost their taste, and I didn't.
did they ever get it back?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I heard like some people it takes like 6 months to a year. And
Yeah,
they're still
they
like-
got it back, but yeah,
Okay.
I never lost my taste. It got a little funky for a while, but that was probably the Paxlovid. But yeah, so getting back to things changing.
Yep. Okay.
We had to shut everything down.
Okay.
And Sophia, who everybody knows, that comes to the senior center, our exercise instructor, called me up and she said, you want me to do classes on Zoom? I'm like, yeah, that'd be great.
What did we do before Zoom? You know?
So I'm like, how do we do that? So she set it up.
Okay.
And now, mind you, it was more important for her because she doesn't get paid if we don't have her doing the classes. So
Now, did she do them like live or did she like pre-record them and
she
then?
did them live.
Wow.
BCAT had the class. We had recordings of BCAT. BCAT could have put it on,
Right.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it would have been all right.
But I'm also thinking, there's a learning curve because not a lot of people were aware that Zoom existed.
so we had a
Not
lot
the
of
PBS children's series from
Yep.
1971.
So Sophia did a whole letter for me to send out, and it explained how to find it, how to download it, and how to get on.
Oh,
She
wow.
did all the work. To this day, we wouldn't even be on Zoom if it wasn't for her, I'm telling you. Thank God for Sophia. So we started with that, and then we got Tai Chi on, and then we started to hire, so we would have concerts. Roger Tinknell
Okay.
is one who he contacted me, and I'm like, oh yeah, let's do, so we did a couple of concerts on Zoom.
Okay.
And he actually taped something and sent it to BCAT for us. And yeah,
Now, were you getting participation from
not the numbers,
audience, but
because people, you had to have a computer, you had to have internet, and you had to have some way, your children couldn't come over and show you how to do it.
exactly
So you had to be able to figure it out for yourself.
right.
But there was some doing home visits. Rotary had a thing going on
Okay.
to help with sending the kids over, but if they had a PC sitting on their desk, they weren't going in the house. So
Right.
there was a lot going on. In September of 2020, we got an intern, and she did a lot of helping to
Okay.
talk people through things. And it was a long, long, long learning curve.
Yeah.
We didn't reopen we started to reopen in June of 21, and then did kind of a
Okay.
slow open
So it was
until
over
September.
a year. Okay.
Yeah. It was basically once they started taking masks. As
Okay.
masks started to kind of come off, we started to reopen.
And, people were already into the first round of boosters, maybe even the second at that point.
No, that would have been the first round of shots.
21?
We didn't get
Oh.
shots until February of 21.
February 21. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm in a time warp. So,
Yeah.
okay.
So we helped with that, helped get people get their vaccines. When we had to get the clinics at the
Okay.
center with the Board of Health, worked really closely with them on that. We had to do a lot of signing people up because everything was on the computer.
Oh, yep. Okay.
Oh my God. And I know that it had to go that way, but it's really tough on people that don't have computers to sign
Yeah.
up for anything now because everything went to computers.
Absolutely.
So we did a lot of that. One of my worst nightmares, and in fact,
Came true.
I still have flashbacks on it. In fact, I was interviewed by the state for like, what did we not do right? And this is exactly what I told them. We knew that we were going to be helping the state when the vaccine started to roll out. And we said, make sure you give us notice because, we need to be aware when phone calls start to come in. And I don't remember what was going on, but I was sitting, I was getting some sort of radiology thing going on.
Okay, well, I'm also thinking like when the vaccines first came out, it has to stay at, negative 20 degrees. And
Yep. So I'm getting an x-ray of something. I don't remember what it was. This was February.
Okay.
And I'm watching the TV and, down in the basement where I can't contact anybody at Leahy.
Because there's no internet signal. Okay.
And the governor comes on and announces that we're ready for the vaccine rollout to seniors, and they can call their local council on aging and they will help them get vaccine appointments. I will not tell you what came out of my mouth. I can tell you that everybody looked at me that was in there like, what is wrong with her?
Few colorful metaphors. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And you had like no warning.
No. And I knew that Debbie, my admin, was at lunch. And it was like, oh, this is going to be
We're going to change our phone number now.
So, for better or for worse.
Because it was also really hard to get appointments.
Yes. So, for better or for worse, we let everything go to voicemail. What happened was,
I think that was a smart idea.
yeah, Joyce was working that day, or that moment that it happened, and she couldn't keep up with the phone calls. So things were going to voicemail, and she's answering and voicemail and answering and voicemail. And Debbie came back and she's like, this isn't working because it's not in the flow of when people call, right? So she's like, let it go.
You can't really do the first come, first serve
So
type
let it go to
thing.
voicemail, and then we'll start to take it off, and we'll timestamp everything. So they did that. So they were able to get everybody kind of returning calls in the
order they were received.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But there were so many lessons learned from that. It was crazy. So I actually ended up writing a grant and getting 6 Chromebooks so that we could do hybrid. So when we started to reopen, everything could be hybrid. So people who weren't comfortable coming back could come back.
Got it.
But we had like all of our exercise classes were online. We did bingo monthly online. I couldn't do it weekly. It was just too much for me to do.
Yeah, I'm like, people take their bingo very seriously.
But you'd be surprised how few people. I probably had 3 or 4 people, and that was it. But
those are the 3 or 4 people that take it very seriously.
But 2 of those people never came to bingo before.
Oh, okay.
And they come now. And one of them actually volunteers for me now.
Cool.
So yeah, so I mean, everything had to go virtual, but it took a long time to get there. And then it took a long time to kind of get people back in.
Are you still in that trying to recoup all the losses?
Yeah,
or?
well, the numbers are not the same. They're flipped. We have more activities, but we have fewer people.
Okay.
Because it's funny. I'm busier now than I was before the pandemic.
Well, of course.
Because we haven't lost all the meetings.
Okay.
And there's more
we probably
meetings
never
now
will.
because it's either easy because you can do them on Zoom.
Right.
Which means I'm always tied up. But I couldn't do the activities because I was already tied up in these Zoom meetings. So I ended up hiring an activity coordinator.
Okay, cool.
I threw myself at my boss's feet and said, I can't do this anymore. And so we have a lot more activities because we have someone who's dedicated.
Dedicated to,
and it's not this, I have a meeting on this day, so I can't do anything here. Like, here's the conference, the annual conference, so we can't have any activities for this week, and now we don't have that anymore.
So there's somebody actually scheduling. Now, does that person also host the activities, or do they find like guest speakers or guest instructors?
Yeah, we have guests come in, we do concerts, we do lectures. I've got a great team of volunteers that help out. And ironically, they're doing more and we have fewer we just have fewer people in the building.
Yeah.
We lost about 140 people throughout the pandemic that were people that were coming to the center.
Okay.
And
That seems like a lot. What is like your audience in numbers?
so before the pandemic, it was, I'm not going to tell you. Hold on. Before the pandemic, we had about 1,200.
Okay.
Sorry, we had 1,000, 1,100.
Okay.
Now we have 1,200
Oh, okay.
people that come to events.
Okay.
So overall, we have more people coming. I mean, less people coming, but we have more events happening. It's just weird.
When you say less people, it seems like the numbers have increased.
No, I said it backwards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We had 1,200 in 2018, sorry.
Oh, okay.
And
Sorry, I misunderstood.
1,100,
Okay.
less than 1,100 in last year.
But getting the word out and more people will start, because again, people are still really nervous
Yeah,
because you don't really know what's
We
going
have people
on.
that just will not come back.
Yeah.
They're just not coming back. And we have a lot of new people. We have a lot
Which
of
is a
younger
good
people.
thing.
But yeah, the numbers just have not popped back up. And
Do you still do like a hybrid of like some stuff online, some stuff in person?
so
or-
not very much.
Okay.
Because we were using these Chromebooks.
Okay.
The sound is horrible, and
Yeah.
we'd have Dan Clark come to do the Christmas show, and we'd have the laptop going, and he's over here, and then he's way over there, and the laptop can't pick him up, and
Okay.
so we stopped doing that. But I also lost a few people that way because they weren't coming back in.
Great.
So what I done is I talked to Representative Gordon, and I asked for some money through an earmark.
Okay.
So he requested it, and I got an earmark of $75,000, which back when I got the money was okay. But so I asked for the money in January. It was approved in July,
Okay.
and this was last year, not this year.
Okay.
And then once I got the check, then I started to get the bids, and by the time we got around to doing it, it was double what it had been.
Oh, well, there's also like the whole supply chain issue. But what were you going to do with the money?
So what we're doing is we're doing microphones and cameras in the ceiling
Oh, cool.
of the Murray Kelly wing,
Okay.
and there'll be a setup so that actually BCAT can record, so they don't even have to come out.
Kind of like the select board meetings.
Exactly.
Oh.
There'll be like 3 cameras up in the ceiling, so we'll get front, back
Okay.
audience. In the library, we'll have it's like an OWL system. So basically, you'll have a camera in the front of the room, and it will, like the selectmen do.
Okay.
With hybrid, so it'll go like this and follow people speaking. But it'll be attached to the wall because we had a system and somebody walked off with part of it. But this will be secure.
Yeah.
And that's what the money's going to cover. It was supposed to also cover the conference room and then the upstairs room, the flex space upstairs.
Oh, okay.
So I've written a grant. So the Elder Affairs, the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, received ARPA funds. That last round of ARPA funds was very
Okay.
senior directed. So they got a lot of it, and they're putting out grants. So I received a grant. I wrote and received,
Okay.
and this will be shocking to people because Burlington is not a gateway city. We are not a poor city. We are not.
Right.
We're not rural. We're not.
No.
You're
we're
not.
pretty.
You wouldn't expect we'd be a town or a city that would receive help with something like this. But they did. They put out grants for digital equity, specifically for. Well, the twist is for telehealth.
Oh, okay.
To get seniors doing telehealth with their doctors.
Okay.
So I wrote this grant, and mind you, I wrote the grant because I felt like I should, not because I really wanted to do the program, which I know was needed, but it was like, I'm not going to get this grant. Why am I wasting my time doing
Surprise.
this? It was for gateway cities, rural cities, cities
Okay.
that, poor cities, small towns, Western Massachusetts.
Something that you would never consider Burlington
Correct.
being qualified
But
for.
I'm like, you know what? You won't get it if you don't do it. So let's do it. So we wrote up the grant, and I didn't put as much thought into it as I probably should have because I didn't think we'd get the grant. And so when I got the letter saying we'd gotten the grant,
You're like, oh,
I
great.
went in
Now
to
what?
talk to Andrea, my social worker,
Okay.
and I'm like, what did we do?
I think I just did a thing.
Well, she and I agreed we were going to do it, but we also agreed we weren't really qualified
Gonna get
for
it, yeah. We'll go through the motions,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
we're just going
So,
through the motions.
Basically, the grant was for 30 iPads, 30 hotspots, mobile hotspots
Oh, wow.
for the iPads, and classes and tutors. So a teacher
To
and
learn how
tutors
to use
to use
said.
the iPads, their cell
Oh
phones,
my gosh, I
any
still don't know how to
tablets
use
they
a
have.
hotspot.
I don't- Well, and that's just it. I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm writing this grant. So, like I said, I would have put a little more thought and conversation into it had I thought I was actually going to get it. We're fine. It'll work fine. But, in the meantime, just so everybody knows, we were told to start the marketing right away. They want us to start marketing in August. I still don't have the check in hand. Something went kafooey up at the State House, and
no.
I don't have a
Checks in
check
the
in
mail.
hand, and I
So
can't start doing anything because I
can't
have no money.
Get the iPad.
And we can't spend the
yeah.
money until we have the check in hand. So, for all of you who are wondering what happened to this, it's
The check's in the mail.
coming, but it's yeah,
To
So,
be announced.
to be announced. Yeah, we'll call you all when it happens.
Okay. So speaking of funding and
Mm-hmm.
grants, how is the council
A
funded?
little bit here, a little bit there.
Do you get like state funding?
Yes.
Okay.
So I get money from the town.
Okay. Are you considered a town department? Okay.
Yep, I report to the town administrator.
Okay.
We get money from the state.
Okay.
Probably 20-25% of my money comes from the state.
Okay.
20%. We get private funding. We get
Okay.
grants. So Leahy
Okay.
is one.
Now, do you have to reapply for those grants every year, or are they just kind of like?
I just signed a 3-year contract.
Oh, okay.
So for 3.
Well, that helps
But-
because I'm just thinking writing grants every year.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even used to have to write the grants because it's kind of given money for us. Part
Yeah.
of what
Okay.
Leahy does for Burlington. But now I have to write the grants. So Leahy pays they pay for the parking vouchers, which no, we don't have any parking vouchers yet. We're still waiting.
They're with the check for the iPads.
Yeah. I nagged Leahy today, just so everybody knows.
I'm working
I did.
on it.
I sent out an email. They pay for exercise classes, the Tai Chi, and the senior stretch.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And they pay for our memory cafe.
Oh, wait,
Mm-hmm.
is that the, I don't want to sound cliche, but I forgot.
It's for,
The families that support people with.
it is for folks with cognitive issues and their
Okay.
care partners.
Okay.
It's fail-safe activities.
Okay.
It might be, it's not using art or craft, just because that can be kind of difficult.
Okay.
Because you don't want them to feel like they're not enough
Okay.
when they do things, right? And I have seen crafts done badly with folks with cognitive issues.
Okay.
And their hands don't always work as
Yeah.
well, and
Okay.
it just, the neurons aren't.
Right. The synapses just aren't firing.
Yeah, there's not as much firing going on. So we tend to do a lot of musical therapy,
Oh, okay.
which is fine because music has been proven to be really beneficial to folks with
Absolutely.
cognitive issues. But it's really a place where the person with cognitive issues and their care partner can just go and be, and not be caregivy and caregiver.
Okay.
Husband and wife, son and son
It's
or
just a
daughter.
place to
be.
be.
And we give them lunch
Oh,
because that's
okay.
a draw. Thank you to LaCasha's for doing that for us every month. Yeah, I mean, it's wonderful, and it's just, they're always, I know that there's a couple, and he can't even get his wife out of bed, but she'll come, and she'll come grudgingly, but she always leaves with a smile on her face.
Yeah, that says so much right there.
Yeah.
Now, are there any, you started talking about, grant-funded programs like the memory one. Are there services where the clients or the seniors have to pay, or is everything funded in one way?
If I can't find funding for it, I don't do it.
Oh, okay.
Generally, I mean, there's a couple things, like we do pizza and a movie once a month. We have them, they give us $5 for the pizza, or $4, whatever it is.
Yeah. Which is still cheaper than going to the theater.
Yes. But generally, I try to find ways. And the senior prom we do in April.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, that we charge for, but we also get funding for it. I get donations for it. But I'm very, Burlington is not, the seniors are not rich. Burlington itself seems to be quite wealthy these days.
Well,
but,
now that they're putting up these
$3 million
ginormous houses, yeah, it's like, I couldn't afford it.
But the seniors themselves are still the same seniors we had 10, 20 years ago for the most part. They built this town. They came out from Somerville and Chelsea and the North End and Revere, and they worked for their money, and for every penny they had, and they didn't have a lot of credit, but they didn't put a lot of money away either. And
well, sometimes you couldn't. It was like a lot of people just earned, lived from paycheck to paycheck. And now, like as you pointed out with the technology, with the cameras in Murray Callaway, everything has gotten more expensive. I think, my grocery bill for a family of 4 has almost doubled. So I can only imagine, some of the things that.
So, I mean, and they couldn't afford certain things 10 years ago, let alone now. So I'm very committed to making sure that we keep everything free for them, so that, and I know some centers are like, well, we'll do scholarships. I'm like, I don't want anyone to have to come ask.
Yeah.
They're too proud. If somebody has to come ask, they're not going to come.
Yeah. I get that.
We had to charge for Tai Chi for a little while, and we charged $1, and we lost people. And you're like, well, either they're too cheap, but more likely they couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And they came back when we took away that fee.
That's got to be discouraging for you, because it's like you work so hard and you want to support all these individuals, and the individuals that you're supporting really need that support. So
The people that can least afford it need it the most.
exactly, that's kind of what I was getting at. So I'm just glancing down at my notes. What's the Eating Together program?
So that is the lunch program.
Okay. Now, do you actually serve lunch there, like set up tables, cafeteria style? Or?
It's one big table.
Okay.
It used to be, pre-pandemic, it was 5 days a week.
Okay.
We had like 2 people. We might have 4 people on a busy bingo day. So when we came back from the pandemic, Minuteman decided they just wanted to do 1 day a week and see if, it even took me a while to get them to do 1 day.
Okay.
They said, decide to do bingo, because that's it's a busy day.
Okay.
And that would be the 1 day. And then if it went really well, we would do another day. I'm still waiting for my other day, but. So it's just 1 day a week. It's the same food that the home delivered meals are.
Okay. So is it like same as Meals on Wheels, and Meals on Wheels is delivered, and Eating Together just come on in and sit with a friend and get out of the house and look at a different 4 walls? Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if they were like totally different.
Nope, same food.
Oh, okay.
All for Minuteman.
Now-
And it's subsidized. So you'll pay like $2 for your lunch.
Yeah, I think
if
my
you're 60
parents
and
have
over.
something similar at their senior center. I completely forgot what I was going to say. Have Meals on Wheels gone, are they still 5 days, or
Yes.
did that have to change? Because I know you mentioned it was a struggle, you still managed, but.
Yeah, no, it was 5 days. And
Okay.
there was contingencies and, what do we do if this happens and what do we do if that happens? But we made it through. We didn't have to shut down the meals
Oh, good.
in Burlington, so.
Okay. How many people take advantage of that service, or how many people utilize that service?
Generally 55 to 60 people.
That still seems like a
Well,
lot.
I should say that's how many go out. Not everybody has a meal every single day, but generally
Okay.
it's like 55 to 60. It's steady. It might go down a little bit, it might go up a little bit, but over the years it's generally been about that.
Okay. And that's just within the Burlington community?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. What are some of the other services that, we talked about the activities, but like Meals on Wheels is a service. Legal services, I think I saw some of that on your website.
Yep. Attorney Wendy Guthrow
Okay.
does some pro bono and gives a discount for folks coming from the senior center. And she'll help them, she does all the elder stuff. So the estate planning, the health
Okay.
proxies, power of attorney, all of
Okay.
that fun stuff.
Oh, wow. Now, how would someone go about it? Is it like a certain number of slots? And if people
Yeah,
just
there's
show
like
up and say,
4
hey,
slots a month.
okay.
If somebody needs her, they can. We'll give them the phone number, and they can always call. And just say
Okay.
they're from the senior center. They'll get.
And with
Discount.
winter coming up, I know the cost of heating, whether it's oil or natural gas or who knows what else other people have, that can get really expensive. And, whether it's true or not, you see these commercials for a lot of seniors not being able to afford heat. How would someone go about getting help?
They come to us.
They just show up.
Just come to us. Show up.
Okay.
Call. Make an appointment. Always better to make an appointment, but yeah, come see us. If anybody's having any financial difficulties over the age of 60, don't come see us if you're under 60. But if you're over 60 and you're having financial trouble, come see us.
Okay.
And I'm not saying we won't help you if you're under 60. We don't know the resources.
Yeah.
And there's fewer of them. There's fuel assistance. There's SNAP, which was formerly food stamps.
Oh, yeah.
And
What's the difference between SNAP and WIC? Is WIC for
WIC is for children
Kids,
and
okay.
pregnant women. Yeah, families.
Okay.
The really cool thing for us with SNAP is that we are outreach partners with SNAP and DTA. So my social workers can get online and look at someone's account and find out why there's a problem.
Oh,
Or
okay.
if there's a problem, or how much money they have left, or whatever difficulties they're having, they can help them with. And we have people that we can specifically call and ask for help.
Oh,
if we
okay.
can't figure it out. The client has to sign something that says
Okay.
we can access, but yeah, and it's really funny because to me, this is the whole reason we do this is because we can do better. We can help people much better.
Okay.
But it's a grant, and we get reimbursed. So whatever time we put into it, we get reimbursed, and then we have they tell us we have to. It's funny because they're like, well, we want you to do 60 applications.
Okay.
And I think we don't have enough close to that.
We don't have 60.
Not even close. But we also,
So what happens?
But we have 100% approval rating. So when we did our annual review, they were like, you're doing great.
Okay.
I'm like, what happened to the 60? I'm like, don't even worry about that. I'm like, okay. But
You're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work.
and it's so much paperwork, and it's like I can't. And I'm always making fun. When it's time to do reports, I'm always like, help.
No.
But it's because it's federal. It's
Right.
a federally funded program. So there's a lot more paperwork than if it was just the state. And but I do it because I want us to be able to better help people.
Okay.
And I don't care. half the time I'm like, oh, do I have to get reimbursed? Because it's such a pain in the neck. But
Yes,
it's part.
you deserve that
it's
money.
Part of it. It doesn't bring in that much money. It's 50% reimbursement.
Oh,
So it's,
okay.
so it really is not worth it. But it's worth it. It's not worth the reimbursement, but it's worth the program so that we
Right,
can help people.
okay, I get it.
But I'm trying to think. So there's SNAP. And yes, I will be able to get reimbursed for that 5 minutes I just did on SNAP. It's funny. Housing.
Housing, yes.
Housing is huge.
Oh my gosh.
So I will tell you, we will not find you housing tomorrow if you're homeless.
Okay,
We might not even find you housing in the next 6 months. What we will do is we will help you apply. There's an online application called CHAMP.
okay,
We will help you apply. If you are in an apartment or condo and you're unable to make your rent, we can help you with applications to deal with that.
okay.
We can get you hooked up with the food pantry. There's all sorts of things we can do.
Okay.
So whatever, you might think you need one thing, but there might be other things we can do to help you.
Okay.
So
So you might think there's a problem here, but if
that might help.
you come over and solve this problem that you don't know is a problem, it can redirect
Right, well, if
resources.
you're having trouble paying your rent, but then we can get you on SNAP and
You don't have to pay money for food, then you can move that money.
fuel,
Okay.
then we might be able to at least lengthen the time you can stay where you are.
Got it.
You have to remember that a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people are in a home.
Mm-hmm.
They sold the home, and they're using the proceeds to help subsidize the rent that they're paying.
Right.
That starts to run down, and then,
Right, because
Or-
like life expectancy is just
Yeah.
so different now.
or you might be in a relationship and partner dies, and now you're on one income and you can't afford the rent.
Right,
And women still, don't make as much money as men.
right.
And if you're not married to the person you're living with, especially, and they die, you don't get their Social Security.
Right, yeah.
And I think some people think that they're going to get both Social Securities, and you only get the higher social. You only get one.
Oh, okay.
So I think a lot of people get into a pickle
Yeah.
because they're in
Okay.
an apartment, and then somebody passes and
Okay, but
afford.
I'm also curious that you talk about people that move, downsize from a house into an apartment. There are senior living facilities in Burlington. How would someone go about, like if they know they want to downsize, they don't need this 3,000 square foot, mansion because either a significant other has passed away or, empty nest, and they want to downsize, they can't take care of the house anymore. They just want a little one-bedroom apartment somewhere. So there's like the Grandview Commons and there's some other places in town. How would they go about applying, and ballpark, how long of a wait would that
Assisted livings really don't have a wait.
be? Okay,
Grandview Commons is a lottery,
okay,
so that you have to wait for somebody to move
okay,
or leave their apartment one way or
Right.
another. And then it goes into a lottery, and you may or you may not get the apartment,
oh,
which is tough.
okay. So you could be like you could be on the list for, 5 years, you could be on the list for
A
5
week.
weeks. Yeah, okay. Luck of the draw, okay.
Luck of the draw. But the assisted livings themselves, generally,
Right.
you can get right in.
Assisted living can be
Expensive.
really expensive.
There are some less expensive choices. There's a VNA of Somerville
Okay,
is much less expensive.
Okay.
But the best thing to do, you can talk to Andrea or Shayla. Shayla is our new social worker.
okay.
She was our intern during the pandemic, and we just hired her when Brenda
The
retired.
intern thing
The
that we
intern
talked
thing,
about.
there's our circle.
I love it. Circle of life.
Yeah, that was funny because they came to me, and social workers came to me and they said, "Do you want an intern?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not? If you guys want to do an intern, we can do an intern." And like, "Well, we have somebody called us, and she'd like to intern with us." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." So I had to interview her, and I didn't realize at the time that she was Jack Farron's daughter.
righty
So,
then.
But she's great. I mean, not that Jeff's not great, but I was like, small town.
Yeah.
So, but she's fantastic, and she's really good with boundaries. So I don't have to worry about,
Okay.
but don't have to worry about her. So when Brenda retired, it's like, well, let's get Shayla in here to interview, because we trained her.
She already know. Yeah.
She already had a year of training. Normally, I wouldn't hire somebody 1 year out of school. I just wouldn't do it. But because she'd been with us and we knew that she knew what she was doing, and we
okay.
trained her the way we wanted somebody trained,
Yeah.
like, yeah, we can do this.
So you don't have to spend another year retraining.
Yeah. And it's really a 2-year curve.
Okay.
It really is. The first year, things are hitting you.
Right.
And then as you get in the second curve, you really start to kind of get your groove.
Things
and then
are going
the
to
third
be
year, it's like,
coming, and then you can.
got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they change it all on you.
Of course they do. Because, as soon as you get
can.
used to something,
Yeah.
that's when it changes. So you mentioned, yes, you have had an intern, you have staff, and you mentioned volunteers. How would someone go about volunteering? Do you have to have like an opening for a volunteer, or?
Generally, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if somebody wants to volunteer, they should come and talk to us, talk to myself, or talk to Debbie Giardina, the front office. It depends on what your interests are.
What if somebody wanted to teach an art class?
Oh, I'll take them in a second. If there's any art teachers out there that that would like to volunteer on Monday afternoon at 1 o'clock, I have a group of really talented people that really want some guidance and direction.
Painting art, or?
They do acrylics mostly.
Oh, okay.
One woman I think does watercolor,
Okay.
but yeah.
Okay. Because art is one of those things that could be.
Yeah, no, it's a
Anything.
acrylic painting class. We had a fantastic art teacher, and she left. She didn't leave us. She left where she was working. She was working for Stonebridge, and they were giving her to us. And she moved to another facility, another community up closer where she lives. So we lost her.
Darn.
We loved her. She was incredible.
Well, I know that we barely got through a lot of our questions, but we're out of time.
Isn't that crazy?
I know. So thank you again for coming.
Thank you for having me.
If anybody over the age of 60 needs anything, wants anything, just wants to talk to you, they can give you a call.
Correct.
All right.
And they can also talk to Shayla and Andrea if they're having any problems or concerns.
I love it. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I hope you enjoy the rest of this beautiful fall season.
You as well. Stay warm.
That's my plan. And I also want to thank everyone for tuning in this evening. I hope that you've enjoyed our conversation as much as I have, and hope you have a wonderful evening. Good night, and I'll see you around town.